Good evening, I'm Cherise Halsall, and here's what's ahead for you on 7 News tonight. That 10% minister's pay cut, it was promised in December, and it's just finally coming through now. We'll tell you how Cabinet's finest will have to pay it back. And 100 days in government, we gave the area rep for Belize Rural South an F. You'll hear his response. Plus, I'll look back at the Bresenio administration's first 100 days in office. Also, we'll take you back to Punta Gorda to talk to the mayor about the seafront gas station that's got the town in an uproar. These stories and much more ahead on 7 News tonight, so please stay tuned.
Start your year with a win with Bellikin and its new promotion, Papa Stopper. Yes, sir. Every time you pop one stopper off our Bellikin, make sure you check under the crown. If you see one bottle shape, you win one free Bellikin. If you see one ball, you win $20. If you see one star, you win $100. And once you see one diamond, you win $1,000. Sure, Bellikin again, you know. Papa Stopper. When you pop a stopper off a Bellikin, check to see if you're a winner. You can collect your free beer or $20 cash prize at the store nearest to you. If you win $100 or $1,000, redeem your prize at the nearest B&B sales center.
Promotion is valid until Saturday, March 27th or while supplies last.
Papa Stopper!
Bellikin, the beer of Belize.
You've worked hard your whole life building your future, your family, your business, your home. And when you aren't around to safeguard your most beloved assets, you are at ease because you know they are protected by RF&G Insurance. For over 50 years, RF&G has been making sure business owners get back to work after an accident, and families get back into their homes quickly after a natural disaster. At RF&G, it's you who matters most. Visit us today and learn why it pays to get it right. RF&G Insurance, a Rowe Group company.
Electricity. We use it to power our appliances, charge our devices, and light our home. Let's all practice energy conservation at home and in the workplace. That's unplug chargers when not in use, lights off when not in the room, turn off fans and TVs. You can also look for Energy Star products and change lights to LEDs, which reduce energy cost. Let's all save energy.
If you have been directly exposed to the new coronavirus or have a history of travel in infected populated areas, it is recommended that you self-isolate. Identify a room to be used to self-isolate and limit contact with healthy persons. Keep away from older persons and persons who have medical conditions that affects their immune system. Monitor for any cold or flu-like symptom for up to 21 days and wash hands frequently with soap and water. If you become seriously ill, call your healthcare provider or 0800-664-2273 for guidance. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
In partnership with the British High Commission.
Looking for a paint which offers durability, fast drying action, easy application, long-lasting protection, and low odor? Then Coronado is the brand you need. Choose from eggshell, flat, or semi-gloss finishes for your home's interior or exterior. You can also protect your deck from the harsh outdoor elements with Coronado Maxum deck and siding stain. We also have primers, masonry and metal coatings for other projects around your home. Benny's Paint Center has the paint you need in the color and finish you want. Enjoy your newly painted home with long-lasting, durable Coronado paints. Available at Benny's. Quality and savings.
We all remember that solemn day in December when Prime Minister John Briceño announced that his ministers would be taking a pay cut. It was a day marked by devastation for the newly sworn-in government as they mourned the loss of a colleague and the failing economy. But in their first 100 days in office, which ended today, they have yet to take that pay cut. 7 News has seen documents which show that since the start of 2021, the ministers have been receiving their full pay and allowances, all the while lamenting the costly wage bill, which the government often reminds us uses up 85 cents, that is, of every dollar government earns. So when will this pay cut finally come into effect? Courtney Menzies has the answers in this report.
December 11 should have been a celebratory event, but instead was austere, with one area rep dead from COVID and the country in the grips of a financial crisis. It was then that the Prime Minister announced that his cabinet ministers would be taking a 10% pay cut as a show of goodwill.
To show our commitment to a national effort, my cabinet will take a 10% salary cut effective 1st January.
But it would be 2 months before that pay cut actually came into effect. 7 News has obtained information which shows that for pay periods of January 15th and 31st, as well as February 14th, ministers' salary were consistent at $3,375 before income tax and Social Security. It is not until the upcoming payday at the end of February that the ministers will see that deduction in their pay. And that may come as sad news to Minister Curtis Hyde, who on February 11, while he had been receiving his full pay, was still singing the blues.
My money very short, man. My money very short. I take a lick. No, but seriously, everybody is taking a lick.
And he'll be facing more of a financial crunch, since, according to Minister Andrew Perez, the monies will be deducted from their salary retroactively, and that adds up to about $506.
We have gotten our letter, it's going to be retroactive. They're going to be docking our pays even from January as well. We got the letter already, so don't worry. We've been docked. The letter has been sent already.
How do you feel about that?
You know, we have to, let me tell you something. We have to lead by example. It is important. I don't want to sound individualistic either, but I tell you my experiences. I have yet to get a golf cart that belongs to the government for me to use around here in San Pedro. I am still using my personal company golf cart. And I want to assure you as well that as a minister, I do not have an official government vehicle. I have to rely on a used vehicle that came from Civil Aviation Department that is almost 100,000 miles. But I'm not complaining. You know, I'm a businessman. I have a better vehicle than I in my company. But I'm not complaining. Why? Because that is not priority to us. We got to work for the people. So it's not, for me, that to me 10% is just letting you know, I know, I hear you.
Still, the minister's allowance are not being cut. And for most of them, that works out to about $1,600 per month for housing and entertainment, and $1,000 per month for telephone. Courtney Menzies, 7 News.
And while he may still be getting his allowance, Minister Perez isn't getting any break from his constituents on San Pedro. With 8,000 voters, it's the 3rd largest constituency in the country. And it's also been hardest hit by the major decline in tourism. And that's why, at 100 days, this area rep and Minister of Blue Economy and Civil Aviation says he hasn't delivered on his promised 100-day 10-point list. He spoke to Jules Vasquez via Zoom.
It has been a challenge, like many trials and tribulations. not everything was accomplished, but I'm very much satisfied that what we have done in the past 3 months here in Belize South, of course, speaks more than what has been done in the past 12 years that was not accomplished, right? As it relates to jobs. And we have as much as 60% unemployment rate, that is so high here in Belize South. So we have found ourselves, we need to diversify. And one of the things that the big schools that we have done is to create the call centers. And we have our first call center established here at Berlin. And the other thing also, other than the employment and these things that we do, is to look back and assessing this whole issue that is affecting our people. I have actively engaged in that as well by collecting all the necessary information of our people, because our people have been disenfranchised and I think they have been stolen with their land. And many people promised a piece of land. That has been a big task for us.
What has the learning curve been like in public administration?
Okay, quickly, it's always, it is a whole new learning experience. What I want to attribute it more is that it does not take much based on my experience to pick up quickly where we need to make adjustments. Case in point, with my ministry, it's a brand new ministry, the portfolio of the Blue Economy. It's all brand new. We're starting from scratch. I'm quickly beginning to learn that these ministries are assigned to one another. They're inherently intertwined. Case in point, the Ministry of Sustainable Development and Environment, the Ministry of Tourism and Diaspora. We've had meetings of these three substantive ministers, three of us, we have met and we are collaborating. And that is, for me, is a learning experience that the collaborative efforts of ministers working together speaks volumes of this new administration.
Now, you are one of the few elected representatives who I know put out a 100-day plan of action. And looking at it, perhaps you're around 50%. That's an F, Minister.
And indeed, that is something that you see, Andre, you're feeling to that. But I tell you what, the pandemic is one of the issues that continues to affect us right now. That's not an excuse. You want me to say a valid excuse. But secondly, there's another major factor that I keep on telling you here. Every time you say you have your plans, whenever you get in there, there are other couple of things that come after you that were unexpected. You begin to realize people have several individual needs that you find yourself opening fires in every corner, right? I'm laying out the terms right now, Jules. It is severely based on the pandemic, but also the level of this disaster. The disastrous government that we have encountered, it's unprecedented. We knew what we were expecting, but never to these limits. And you got to admit that, Jules, right now, as we speak to you, it has been taking us several more weeks for us to get into action, to start to work cohesively with one another. Based on my integrity and my experience, every time I aim for something, I accomplish it. But I got to admit to you that this is by far the biggest challenge. That doesn't mean I am competent. But if we use the same rule to measure what was not accomplished in 12 years, and I have done in less than 100 days, the figures and the reports speak for themselves as well.
I accept that the economy is in a state of absolute ruin, but I don't know if you all shouldn't have expected that. I remember my interviews with the former Prime Minister at his press conferences where he said, "I'm sorry to who come after me because it will be hell to pay." I mention it only because I see it is a repeated chorus of the government, and it's true. What you all are saying is true. The economy is in ruin. But also, it's not news, Minister.
And I'll respond to you like this, Jules. You see this coffee mode? I can either put my finger and hit rock bottom. I know I'm going to hit rock bottom. But then you reach and this rock bottom was so empty that even the rock bottom fell off. And there was another empty abyss. That is how bad this government is. We know we have hit rock bottom, but we found out that there's another rock bottom there. That is exactly what I want to respond to you, Jules. And that is basically what has hampered us on moving forward. But let me go back to what you mentioned about our accomplishments, about that getting immediate cash for these people. This is coming shortly. And I had said it from the very beginning. We're going to be getting as much as $30 million very soon to be injected to tourism. That's for tourism. And we have to be working. And that's one of the issues that is going to be happening soon. So it's just a matter of a couple of weeks more, Bruce, and we're going to be seeing things. And it's already beginning to show by way of cabinet files that are coming out there. We are working. We are really working.
And while Paris is working, more than half of his constituents are not. He discussed the dire unemployment situation in the country's tourism capital.
The unemployment is something that's affecting our people mentally, anxiety kicking in. And right now, people are so unforgiving right now, Jews, and you cannot blame them. It's just this destruction of 12 years that has hit our people, and more than ever, people are desperate. They really need help.
I don't think people understand the enormity of loss that many San Pedranos have gone through. And it's a very expensive place to live. It's the most expensive place to live in the country. And people are facing that without having a job.
Jules, over the weekend, I was in a redraw town. And I've been several times to Bonpan. I've been to Belize City. And I'm not comparing to be calling out everybody else here. But I can guarantee you that this entire country, many people do not understand or cannot even fathom the seriousness of what we have here. When I talk about 60-65% unemployment here, believe me, it's real. And I'm telling you, poverty is real in this area here of San Pedro and Kikari. People who have something to eat. I am one of those who don't believe in giving out handouts, but walking on the street, you realize that right now, it is a necessity. It is something that we fell through from people who having jobs, getting a comfortable salary, to right now, zero. We cannot be going depending on trying to get a piece of land or farmlands. There is nothing but just tourism. And we just have to go to the waters, get some fish to survive. That is the reality of this town.
The number that government is putting out there is that 120,000 people are looking for work. And we take a break now. When we come back, I'll have an overview of the government's first 100 days in office.
Belize is at risk of losing its World Heritage status. Belize is home to 3 of the 4 atolls in the entire Western Hemisphere. Belize's barrier reef, cay, and atolls are being put at risk by what will be the largest dredging campaign ever conducted in Belize. The concern is the disposal of dredged material, totaling 7 to 10 million cubic meters of unsuitable material, such as silt and other pollutants, for the Port of Belize Cargo and Cruise project proposed by Lord Ashcroft's Waterloo Investment Holdings. The extreme proximity of the deposits to the barrier reef and cay are shown in the photo provided by local expert Jose Pepe Garcia. As a result, there will be tremendous damage to the coral reefs, and the fishing industry will suffer. Jose Pepe Garcia, local expert and owner of Tunic Na Consultancy, concluded in his report on the Port of Belize expansion project that the disposal plans are ill-considered, environmentally unsound, and careless. These plans are never to make it to environmental clearance. The barrier reef and its atolls are considered World Heritage Sites. The public consultation for the EIA was the most attended public hearing in the history of Belize, with over 2,000 plus commentaries from Belizeans in opposition of the project.
As a marine scientist, based on what has been proposed for dumping at sea in particular, I could never support this project.
My understanding was that the entire NGO community was completely against this based on the dumping of the dredged material outside of the reef.
The reef will remain intact.
That will bring disaster to us in many more ways than one.
We vote out corruption. We vote out nepotism.
We call on you folks to definitely give ear to our concern. We're destroying our own country. We're destroying our own islands.
A letter was sent by the NGO emphasizing their objections to the substantial dredging campaign. No adequate rationale has been provided that justifies that ocean dumping should ever be considered for Belize. The NGO letter is supported by the following organizations: Belize Abudan Society, Oceana, Belize Tourism Industry Association, Clearwater Marine Aquarium, Ecomar, Turneffe Atoll Trust, Turneffe Atoll Sustainability Association, Bonefish Harpoon Trust, Fragments of Hope, Healthy Reefs for Healthy People, Sea Belize, and the World Wildlife Fund. In support of stopping the destruction of coral reefs, TASA stated the following: "We at TASA, along with the marine conservation community, are dissatisfied with the proposed Port of Belize cruise and cargo expansion project. TASA is against any proposal to dump dredge spoils in our marine waters, near any of our reefs, and especially next to the Turneffe Atoll Marine Reserve."
The vampire Michael Ashcroft and his Belizean minions. That would never happen in a million years.
Dr. Frank Gordon Kirkwood, a retired oilman and independent advisor, a wildlife emergency response volunteer, and a chartered engineer for petroleum, goes on to say, "The complete lack of cruise port strategy for Belize City, which results in false promises of increased employment and economic benefit, way in excess of the growth rates for the cruise industry seen before COVID-19. He further states that the industry is not big enough to support the level of investment indicated by the one cruise port currently under construction at Stake Bank and the Port of Belize proposed development, meaning that there will be too much development, with the consequence that the environment will suffer far more from the superfluous development activity than it would do if the Belize City cruise port development were done in a more strategically justified way."
Start your year with a win with Bellikin and its new promotion, Papa Stopper. Yes, sir. Every time you pop one stopper off our Bellikin, make sure you check under the crown. If you see one bottle shape, you win one free Bellikin. If you see one ball, you win $20. If you see one star, you win $100. And once you see one diamond, you win $1,000. Sure, Bellikin again, you know. Papa Stopper. When you pop a stopper off a Bellikin, check to see if you're a winner. You can collect your free beer or $20 cash prize at the store nearest to you. If you win $100 or $1,000, redeem your prize at the nearest B&B sales center.
Promotion is valid until Saturday, March 27th or while supplies last.
Papa Stopper!
Bellikin, the beer of Belize.
Masks protect us from the spread of germs which can make us sick. Make sure your mask covers both your mouth and nose. Remember, don't touch your mask with your hands when it is on your face. Let's all wear our mask properly to stay safe and healthy. Belize Electricity Limited. We care about your safety.
If you have been directly exposed to the new coronavirus or have a history of travel in infected populated areas, it is recommended that you self-isolate. Identify a room to be used to self-isolate and limit contact with healthy persons. Keep away from older persons and persons who have medical conditions that affects their immune system. Monitor for any cold or flu-like symptom for up to 21 days and wash hands frequently with soap and water. If you become seriously ill, call your healthcare provider or 0800-664-2273 for guidance. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
In partnership with the British High Commission.
Kadilesa Albert Iterlube.
Inita nomada, naba santi golida ligabri, asata lida l'escola abrohatia.
I feel the Lord need to make it though.
Time out. Weri hali anigi beli habusa rogrigia wena mohaya hagamro duniwa irahia. Baro bada ayano haba hama bisani. Demele badugunile bide haba lida leredoroniwa hagamro duniwa irahia.
Ishkanap ang kilep akok alchihink achap il belep apan natiemang nakmukuna karahepta ot mukush nashiktaj ol chirishep mukukamaanta narah tento naktak amch olanehem tarahep akok al utak ak alahem renak ustek ik hakok al nekek ichicha bilshtu amem Natyop amang solp alep rukin haus sa ishkok alilem. Chap il belep chak sa pesing bilem. Chap il kwentinim bilep. Ut chikamaan sa hep sa olep kaweb ut neke eshnau harahok. Eshna eshtuka beh. Tek kwi etiem prehep ekok al shpanak tento te rilera hom. Chihok kan tek shpanun kila us sa ishtu amem. Shpanak shetsolep chi us sa ishkok alilem.
It's the hot-button Punta Gorda issue that's made it to the national stage and stayed there for months now. It's yet another gas station being built in what the townspeople call the Y, a picturesque seafront property where for years families would sit with their kids before plunging into the Caribbean Sea's crystal clear waters. All that is now changing because the property has been sold and development of a gas station, one that many have rallied against, is well underway. I've spoken to Mayor Ashton McKenzie about the issue on several occasions, and he has always maintained that the problem lies in a lack of zoning. And yesterday, when I caught up with him down south, he told me that he's given the Toledo First Movement recommendations for an urban planner, and even told them that if they want to campaign for proper zoning laws, he's ready to join them.
With regards to that particular development, as I have mentioned in the past, there are a lot of intricacies, and of course me, as mayor, I take oath that I will serve everybody in a manner that is free and fair. When you win, you take oath, no matter the color of the person, their economic background, their religious preference, that you will serve them equally. And I have told people, while this is a matter that is near and dear to my heart and in my mind, because PG, Ibanya, and trust me, when I did, the rate they don't bury me. I love my community, but at the same time, we have a country that is governed by guidelines, that is governed by rules. This particular individual, he has clearance from the Central Building Authority, which is the supervisory body to our building unit and all building units in the country. In addition to that, Department of Environment, you know what Mr. Mejia has been saying, oh, it's an environmental issue. Then bring us the facts, show us the data. There was a soil test that was conducted by Geotech Belize. There was an environmental impact assessment that was done. And none of the findings show that such a proposed development, that the area is not conducive to that. But like I tell you, that is the facts. That is what the facts are showing. They're not Ashton Mackenzie. That is not my position. That is what the facts is saying. Now, in addition to that, the town has no zoning regulations. I have echoed to the Toledo First movement. If you guys are really interested in advancing and protecting the future, the development of our country, proper planning, etc., then why is it you don't start at the root of the issue? Zoning regulations are important. You have them in Belmopan. I think you have them in San Pedro. We don't have any here in Punta Gorda. I had recommended to them a particular consultant, giving his name, his information. He has a master's degree in community planning and urban development. Who could have helped them? I tell them, if that make we start at zoning, I would join UNO in this process, because at the ending of the day, as a responsible leader, I am mandated to ensure that the proper protocols and stuff are put in place. But if all we will do is get up and do name calling and not really analyze the situation at the root of the issue, then we are not making any sort of progress.
Prominent Mayflower street figure Jervis Diamond Valencia was shot on January 26th, and police have now charged 2 people for his attempted murder. The first was his cousin, Kareem Kelly, and today, 25-year-old Calbert Humes was accused of facilitating Kelly. Humes was arraigned today before Magistrate Stephanie Gillett on the single charge of abetment to murder. No plea was taken, and he was remanded to the Belize Central Prison until April 26, 2021. As we reported, on Tuesday, January 26th, Valencia reportedly was sitting in a yard in his home turf when he was approached by 5 men. One of them pulled out a gun and opened fire on him. Diamond Valencia, who has been shot before, tried to escape through an alley, but he was injured to the lower abdomen, groin, and leg. Humes now lives in Hopkins, but was a former resident of the Mayflower Street area. And in other prison news, our newsroom received several videos purportedly depicting inhumane treatment of prisoners at the Belize Central Prison. In this video, guards are seemingly pepper spraying cuffed prisoners directly in their faces, as the men are forced to kneel and inhale the noxious spray. The other videos are more disturbing, including a man apparently being forced to ingest large quantities of water and then vomit it out. And as well, there's a video of the very public issue of the paralyzed inmate who is suffering from extreme bed sores. Along with the videos was an anonymous letter to the president of the Human Rights Commission detailing the reports of human rights violations within the prison, including that the inmates are reportedly being fed stale or spoiled food twice a day. We reached out to the CEO of Colby Foundation, Virgilio Murillo, for comment. As for the videos of alleged torture of inmates, he told us that while he can see that the men seen in the video are prison guards, there is no evidence to confirm when the videos were taken. He noted that he does not recognize any of the guards and can guarantee that that type of treatment is not occurring within the prison currently. In terms of the inmate with bed sores, he says the issue has been in the news before, and he maintains the position that the inmate is receiving the treatment he needs and has been assisted by the Belize Assembly for Persons with Diverse Abilities. On Tuesday's newscast, we showed you what Ivan Williams, the former Labour Commissioner, had to say on behalf of the 55 open vote workers who were terminated from the Ministry of Transport. They should have received their severance packages within a week of their termination, but they are still waiting for the Briceño government to pay them off. That press encounter with Williams allowed us an opportunity to discuss a fight that he is having with the PUP-controlled Independence Village Council. It involves a pricey piece of heavy equipment that both he and the Village Council are claiming ownership of. Until about 3 days ago, the grader used to be parked on his farm just south of the Southern Highway. But on Tuesday, the police confiscated it on behalf of the Village Council. The origin of the dispute dates back to his candidacy for the UDP in Stancrick West less than 2 years ago. When he was campaigning in the division, he had a natural ally in the form of the UDP-controlled Independent Village Council. His version of the grader's purchase is that his company, Goodwill, entered into an agreement where the UDP Council would carry out the logistics of the sale agreement and the grader's shipping to Belize. He claims that his company more than covered the cost that the council incurred to get it to Belize by carrying out road maintenance and land clearing works for the village council. He asserts that after the most recent village council elections, a PUP-controlled council came into power, and now they're claiming his company's property. Here's how he explained the dispute to us.
Today on my way to Belize City here, I got a call that police officers were at my gate. I have a farm at mile 8 on the Southern Highway. And I asked a relative of mine, an in-law of mine, to go and find out what was the issue there. And I was told by an officer, I won't call his name right now, that he came to pick up a grader. And I asked him which grader. He said a grader that is in your yard, in your property. And he says, you have a warrant? He said, yes. I says, well, I'm not there. My gates are locked. And I will be there tomorrow morning. If I would have known, I would have stayed, because I have nothing to hide, and I'm not trying to stop the police from doing their job. But we have constitutional rights, man. We have rights. We have a way how we do things. So I was not served with any summons. Later on, it was reported to me, and I'm going to confirm it as soon as I get home, that a young man named was seen following the grader. In other words, the police went in, took the grader out. I don't know how they take it out. They must have damaged my fence. Load it on a truck, and it's on its way to Independence. The grader, we have a bill of sale, and we have a title in the name of Goodwill Organization. That's an organization that is legally registered in regards to some lots. The people in Belize, right, participated in a project that we had, in which they paid certain monies. And it was the view of the directors of the company that we don't like to give or to help people with land and they don't have access to it. So the grader was bought for the purposes. The grader is in the name of Goodwill Organization. At the time, we needed to wire some money to the United States to purchase the grader. And at that time, we asked the then village council to wire the money for us. So the village council wired the money. Okay? No village council money. We also had the village council act in certain regards. Okay? And so they incurred, I believe, about $7,000 expense. And the Goodwill project incurred about $20,000 in expense in doing back work for the village council, which means we grade all the streets in Mango Creek, Independence. We do a lot of village work. So if they are claiming they are 7,000, then we claim, or Goodwill claim, they are 20,000. Okay? But they're saying that they own the grader.
This afternoon, we contacted Cliff Garbutt, the vice chairman of the new PUP-controlled Independent Village Council, for comment. He told us, quote, "We have documentation to show that the acquisition of the grader was done in the name of Independence Village Council," end quote. He shared those documents with us, and in one of them, there is an invoice that says that the village council incurred a little under $7,400 for shipping. Another document says that the Independent Village Council was billed $22,500 for the purchase of the John Deere road grader and its shipping to Belize. Then there's an April 2019 letter from the former village chairman to the Ministry of Finance asking for the exemption of the grader's full import duty, quote, "for the exclusive use of Independent Village," end quote. Now, you just heard Ivan Williams explain that his company's money was used to purchase the grader and that the council incurred the cost to get it to Belize. He said that the former council simply wired the money for the grader's purchase. He specifically asserted that no village council money was used in this purchase. Via WhatsApp, Vice Chairman Garbutt refuted that and asserted that public monies were used to purchase this grader. He added, quote, "The grader did materialize, but ownership was placed in a Goodwill View project name, an organization that is not registered in the company registry. As recent as the 26th of November 2020, they registered a company that is completely different in name than what is on the certificate of title." Williams told us that he has retained an attorney to dispute the village council's confiscation of this grader. A teenager is accused of stabbing a woman in the chest. The incident occurred this morning sometime after 10 in the Bakatong area. According to the residents of the home, the 17-year-old assailant was cutting up clothes belonging to the 20-year-old victim. They got into a fight, during which the assailant took a knife and stabbed the other woman. She was rushed to the hospital and the suspect fled the scene, leaving the weapon behind. When we arrived on the scene, the police had yet to process it, but the resident had already cleaned up the blood. The knife sat underneath the stairs until it was taken into evidence by a police officer. The victim's boyfriend, who had a cut wound on his hand, which he sustained from trying to break up the fight, was taken to the station to give a statement. And we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll have a look back at the Briceño administration's first 100 days in office. Plus, more from Mahogany Chocolate in Punta Gorda.
Looking for a paint which offers durability, fast-drying action, easy application, long-lasting protection, and low odor? Then Coronado is the brand you need. Choose from eggshell, flat, or semi-gloss finishes for your home's interior or exterior. You can also protect your deck from the harsh outdoor elements with Coronado Maxum deck and siding stain. We also have primers, masonry and metal coatings for other projects around your home. Benny's Paint Center has the paint you need in the color and finish you want. Enjoy your newly painted home with long-lasting, durable Coronado paints. Available at Benny's. Quality and savings.
You've worked hard your whole life building your future, your family, your business, your home. And when you aren't around to safeguard your most beloved assets, you are at ease because you know they are protected by RF&G Insurance. For over 50 years, RF&G has been making sure business owners get back to work after an accident, and families get back into their homes quickly after a natural disaster. At RF&G, it's you who matters most. Visit us today and learn why it pays to get it right. RF&G Insurance, a Rowe Group company.
Start your year with a win with Bellikin and its new promotion, Papa Stopper. Yes, sir. Every time you pop one stopper off our Bellikin, make sure you check under the crown. If you see one bottle shape, you win one free Bellikin. If you see one ball, you win $20. If you see one star, you win $100. And once you see one diamond, you win $1,000. Sure, Bellikin again, you know. Papa Stopper.
When you pop a stopper off a Bellikin, check to see if you're a winner. You can collect your free beer or $20 cash prize at the store nearest to you. If you win $100 or $1,000, redeem your prize at the nearest B&B sales center.
Promotion is valid until Saturday, March 27th or while supplies last.
Papa Stopper!
Bellikin, the beer of Belize.
Electricity. We use it to power our appliances, charge our devices, and light our home. Let's all practice energy conservation at home and in the workplace. That's unplug chargers when not in use, lights off when not in the room, turn off fans and TVs. You can also look for Energy Star products and change lights to LEDs, which reduce energy cost. Let's all save energy.
of the house?
Right now, Dad.
Damn it, Brian! I told you stop it! Can't you hear me? Are you deaf? Are you just being... Time out. Your life is stressful, and it is easy to lose your patience. When you feel this is about to happen, take a time out. Harsh words are verbal violence and can be very harmful. They are not forgotten. Offering alternatives and communicating with your child is the best way to build real respect. I'm sorry, Brian. That just had a rough day at work. Can you do something quiet?
Do you want a job?
That's more like it.
Are you kidding me? Mira lo que has hecho. Ahora sí te voy a mostrar. Time out. La mayoría del tiempo los niños no saben que están haciendo algo mal. Usando violencia solo les enseña que pegando es la única manera de solucionar las cosas. Esto solo empeorará la situación y dañará su relación. Tómese un tiempo y hable con sus hijos de lo que está bien y mal. Construyan una relación basada en entendimiento, respeto y amor. Miss Annie, sweetie, it's a very nice drawing, but you know you shouldn't draw on walls. You know how hard it is to keep the house clean. We will wash it off, and from now on, we will draw only on paper. ¿Entiendes?
Yesterday, I took you to Punta Gorda for a look inside Mahogany Chocolate Factory and the processes the company undertakes to make its 5 varieties of chocolate. And tonight, in part 2 of our chocolate excursion, we take a look at what it takes to successfully package and distribute the delicate candies, both at home and abroad. Here's that story. Mahogany Chocolate's 50,000 bars on their way to the US are just for starters for this company. Executive chocolate maker Armando Choco has his eye on a much wider distribution, but he's also aware that those goals require not just meeting standards, but meeting quotas.
Simultaneously with our client in the US, we're also working with other potential importers in the Asian community in Europe, and those are in the pipeline at the moment. We are also gearing up in improving our production processes. Okay? For us to get out there, we also have to reach out to the distributors, traders, clients, wholesalers in those market space. And so it has to do a lot with going out there, marketing, selling our product, ensuring that we are there, we can produce this product, and basically finding the right market where you're going to sell your product.
And wherever the chocolate goes, it's getting there against some pretty crazy odds. That's because Belize is far from a chocolatier's paradise. Talk to us about the challenges of producing chocolate in the Belizean heat.
There's no additives to it to basically maintain the constant form of the chocolate. You expose the chocolate and within 5 minutes they will melt. So those are some of the challenges, the bottlenecks we face. It's very challenging. A lot of my chocolate colleagues in other parts of the world where it's much cold, it's cold and they don't have it as difficult as we do. And that's the reason why we have to rely a lot on air condition, especially the critical part in the chocolate making process. Distribution is a major challenge. Fortunately for us, we have 1 or 2 chocolate distribution companies in Belize that are equipped, that has the necessary or the the right transportation mean to carry our products. I guess perhaps the most challenging part is the retail side. A lot of our stores are not equipped to carry chocolate products in dark chocolate products.
Challenges that we temporary chocolatiers faced firsthand yesterday, culminating in a rapping competition between myself and Plus TV's Paul Lopez. We'll let you be the judge of who won. Cherise Halsell, 7 News. 2 days ago, we brought you the personal experience of COVID-positive patient Dorian Pakeman. He had publicly questioned the legitimacy of the numbers being reported, saying that they were inaccurate and will only lead to the public having a false sense of security. The reason he gave us for his beliefs was that he never saw his own positive test being reflected in the daily COVID numbers. Well, after the interview he gave us, he gave an update, saying he was contacted by the Department of Public Health today. In a Facebook post, he said that the woman on the other end of the line said that she had just learned that he had tested positive and wanted to do contact tracing and notify him of the quarantine protocols. He was perplexed since he had already been quarantining for 2 weeks and by MOH standards was already considered recovered. The woman told him he was just about his status and asked if anyone had called him before. She also said she did not have a report of where the positive test came from. Pakeman continued his post by asking whether the Public Health Department received his tests from the private facility he took it at or the swab taken from him at the airport when he arrived in Belize, seeing as he caught the virus in the US. Either way, he noted that his concern that the ministry waited 2 weeks after he tested positive before getting in contact with him. Football, like any other contact sports, is still illegal in Belize due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. But that's not stopping local football fans from anticipating the Belize national team's upcoming matches in round 1 of the qualifiers of the 2022 FIFA World Cup, which will take place in Qatar. Belize is one of 35 teams that is participating from the North, Central, and the Caribbean region. We're part of a Group E, and so the national team, the Jaguars, will go up against the national teams from Haiti, Nicaragua, St. Lucia, and Turks and Caicos. The first match for Team Belize is an away game, which will take place on March 25th against Haiti. The second game against Turks and Caicos would have been a home game, scheduled for March 30th, but because of the COVID-19 protocols, make it illegal to play contact sports in country. The Football Federation of Belize had to schedule it to be played in the Dominican Republic instead. The announcement of that decision happened yesterday, and already there's disappointment coming from the local football community that there won't be a home game. This morning, we got a chance to speak via teleconference with Marlon Quillen, who is an executive member of the Football Federation of Belize. He explained that the FFB had to meet the deadline set by the regional governing bodies of football for these qualifier matches.
These are important, huge matches coming up. And for months the players have been getting drills to do individual training to get them in shape so that when we finally get to come to camp, in a bubble or not, that we can work on the tactical part and the technical part of things instead of trying to get them in shape. Thankfully, we finally received our permission last week, Friday. And so this is how we are now going into camp in a bubble next Monday. However, deadlines are approaching, and we had to give CARCAF and FIFA a definitive answer as to where we would play our home games. And so we made a decision that we had to take it to the Dominican Republic. Why the Dominican Republic? Is because Haiti is our first match. As anybody with a little geography would know, Hispaniola is shared, one island shared by Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Now, Haiti normally plays their home matches in the Dominican Republic also, because their stadium was not FIFA certified. So with all the discussions and all the plannings and CONCACAF's advices, and seeing that we wouldn't be able to get the permission here, we decided to take our match to the Dominican Republic. Haiti just got their certification last week, so we will play our first match in Haiti on the 25th of March, and then we jump over to Dominican Republic and we play our home match against Turks and Caicos there. Now, for the record, we are not the only country in the Caribbean that faces these problems. In fact, Barbados is playing their home match that same day, the March 30th, same time like us, in another stadium in the Dominican Republic also. I know there are a lot of disappointment, and it's not only for the fans, but it's also for us, because we're very frustrated because we see, of course, other parts of the world, other countries in our region playing, but we understand, we get it. However, even if we had played that game at home, it would have had to be played behind closed doors to an empty stadium.
After those matches in March, Team Belize will play against Nicaragua on June 4th, and the team will play its final match of the first round against St. Lucia on June 8th. That's supposed to be a home game. So Quillen and the FFB are hoping that the country's COVID-19 picture will be improved enough so that the ban on contact sports will be lifted and that this match can be played in Belize. Yesterday, the FFB sent out a press release announcing that the Ministry of Youth, Sports and E-Governance has given them permission to bring in all the national team players to a special camp to train for these upcoming qualifier matches. They will enter their own form of quarantine where they will be training in a bubble. Players and the technical staff will be tested for COVID-19 before, and they must remain in camp for the entire period. Today marked 100 days since the Briceño administration first went to Belmopan, riding the waves of that blue tsunami that swept them into office. And while the first 100 days in office are traditionally a marker of some measurable list of deliverables that form the leading edge of an agenda for change, for this administration, progress has been neither linear nor incremental. They have lurched, it seems, from crisis to crisis. Epic floods in the first few weeks of office, to a raging COVID outbreak, to, of course, the ongoing economic meltdown. And so today, there was no triumphant press conference or prime ministerial address. We are told those will come next week. But much has happened in public life since November 11th, and I looked back at some of it today. It's been 100 days since the PUP won the landslide election and formed the government of Belize. And since then, they, like any new mid-pandemic regime, have had their highs and their lows. Their first move was to get cattle rolling. And roll they did, with 600 heads crossing the border in mid-November alone. And in other border issues, Norteños had their cayucos back within 2 weeks of the Blue Wave win. And the GSU, in name at least, was one of the first to go. It became the GI3. The new government also took a bold step in the establishment of a national holiday to celebrate the life and legacy of the Right Honourable George Cadell Price. A day whose spirit was marred by mass firings of dozens of Transport Department employees. And 2 days later, one minister told us that these are decisions that every new government in their time are forced to make.
I, who is a human being, and I have a soft heart, it was not my intention, but if I did, I damn. If I don't, I damn. Because my people are expecting me to provide for them.
And back in November, the PM had to decide just how to reward those who had been his campaign generals in a series of appointments that at the time, we said, raised the politically undead. Still, there was at least one bright young CEO, another who didn't make it through the first quarter, and one Minister of State who was straight up rejected by his minister. One thing that's remained constant in the PUP's first 100 days has been the controversial appointments of family members of ministers, at least 24. It's a state of affairs that the PM famously justified as follows.
I think that the question that I would rather you ask about the quality
of the people that I am appointing. And I believe that I have appointed, with consultations with the different ministers and ministries and everybody else, people that are qualified. Now, if I have just appointed people just because they are a family member of a minister or my friend or whatever, and they're not qualified, then I think you have every right to be able to make a case. But when you're looking at just say 20 out of hundreds of people that we have to apply, Belize is a small society. We have limited talent.
One thing's for sure, those talented individuals in government will have to get the country's finances in order, and quick, if they hope to change the current state of COVID affairs. And back in September, as PM Briceño made his first address to the United Nations, he pleaded Belize's case and that of other small island developing nations who've struggled to make ends meet during COVID.
We did what we could. We repurposed where possible and borrowed when we could ill afford it. But now the situation grows more urgent. The existing resources in SIDS are about to dry up, and the debtors are waiting by the door.
The Ashcroft Alliance didn't have to wait anymore. Their long pending review for the acquisition of Scotiabank Belize was approved within days of the government taking office. And from the media's vantage point, there has been concern that while the start of the pandemic was marked by regular prime ministerial press conferences, the PUP's first 100 days hasn't yielded a single one. We'll excuse the 2 weeks in which the PM himself was infected with COVID-19, during which time he found himself chairing cabinet meetings via Zoom. And he wasn't the only one of his government who contracted COVID. They even lost one area rep before he could even be sworn in. But while the new government mourned, they've had to deal with the business at hand, much of which has had to be focused on the survival of a struggling nation, and the hard decisions prompted by a post-election COVID spike that had to be made.
Starting on Saturday, the 28th of November, a curfew will be implemented from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., and this will last for a period of 21 days.
That spike, it comes with a curve. What are the experts saying about that curve? Is it now trending down?
No, it is not trending down as yet. We expect the spike to be somewhere in January, around the middle of January. So we do anticipate that we're going to have continuing numbers of positive cases coming out.
All the funds were spent before November 11th. They left $1 million left for food, for the food pantry or the grocery bags or whatever it is you want to. They left $1 million. The $10.5 million that have just come in towards that, the government had already spent it. They borrowed it from central bank. So that has to be paid. So now we just decided in cabinet that we are going to make the monies available to continue that program at least until the end of this financial year.
And while social programs remain under incredible strain, the government seems to be coming through with the COVID vaccines. Back in December, we were told that the IDB would facilitate the vaccination of at least 30% of Belize's population. The Briceño administration has also begun to prod into the misdeeds of their predecessors, exposing major fraud, confiscating government assets, and doing their due diligence to find out the whereabouts, profits, or lack thereof, of everything that the UDP sold off.
He either wrote to or called Joe about the purchase of furniture that, for the most part, he tells me, was furniture specially treated. I will need to be delicate. Furniture consisting of a couch and some chairs that had to be acquired with certain dimensions and size specifications in mind, and in addition had to be reinforced because of Senator Perfeet's size and weight. His finance officer said to him, "Why don't you apply to buy these things? Half of them nobody else can use. They were specially adjusted for you." And so in that context, he spoke to the financial secretary. But a letter did come from the vehicle care unit saying that these pieces of furniture. He was advising needed to be disposed of. Now, I know that included in what was sold to Senator Perfeet was a laptop.
And an iPad, I believe.
And an iPad.
It's been 100 days of growing pains and settling in. And there have been some embarrassments and some controversy.
The country is suffering. People are suffering, and people are expecting the government to come to their aid.
But there have also been some bright spots, with the Briceño administration's biggest accomplishment to date being the obvious lowering of the curve, which to date has drastically reduced both our death and positivity rates. And that offers a bit of hope. Hope that even in a world where Parliament has to look like this, that this now not so new government can find its way through the most challenging period in Belize's history. Cherise Halsell, 7 News. As you heard, the Prime Minister Briceño is reportedly planning an address and a press conference for next week. And a highlight of that address is sure to be the continuing control of COVID-19. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is reporting tonight that there were no COVID deaths recorded today. Out of the 427 tests completed, only 21 new COVID-19 infections were detected. Here's a more detailed breakdown from Claudette Dakers-Norales, the Health Ministry's information officer.
A total of 427 samples were tested. Out of this, 21 samples have resulted positive for COVID-19. There are 16 new recoveries to report. Today, we also report that 11 infected persons are hospitalized. Unfortunately, 4 of these individuals are being treated at the intensive care unit. There are no new deaths to report. The cumulative report we are presenting is from March 2020, when we had our first case. The new total of active cases now stands at 172. These are those persons who have been confirmed and are within the time frame to transmit the virus. To date, 79,695 samples have been tested nationally. Out of this, 12,227 samples have resulted positive for COVID-19. There are 123 individuals newly under investigation. A total of 314 deaths have been reported. But we are pleased to report that there are 11,741 total recoveries.
Well-known rapper Stig the Artist is launching his new video tonight on all platforms. It's called Love You Forever, and it builds on a well-known sample of a country and western classic. That's 2 unusual twists. First, to hear this often R-rated rapper singing a G-rated love song, and second, to hear him employ a sample from outside the urban genre. He told us about his new track today.
Forever and ever, yeah, man. Cause we've been through it all. You pick me up when I fall. You're my lover, girl, you're my best friend.
Well, you know, February is the love month. And I always wanted to make a song that would reach out to everybody, that everybody could sing. That you could play the song in a chorus, that, you know, rather than just one set of people listen to the song and play the music. I want everybody could sing it. Everybody feel love in the heart at some point, so yes, man.
It's just a lesson, girl. I'm gonna love you forever.
You chose a country and western sample. Yeah. How you get with it?
Well, honestly, I'm never really too familiar with the song. I heard it 1 or 2 times, but my manager played, and I like, boy, this is the one, Rich. I really like the song, so I make her do it, and when me try put a beat together, and it just everything just made the flow, you know.
Know that I will never hurt you, baby girl. And yeah, I was a little bit toxic, but girl, you know this love is like magic.
First of all, I didn't want the typical stick video. I had to sing a song about a girl. You used to meet with the girl, me and the girl in the video. We got somewhere at a resort or something, and that's the typical. I'm a want to really show real love. So we chose a couple that I guess on TikTok and on social media, other social media, people know this couple, you know. So they never know acting or they never had to force it. That my actual love, when they made kiss them, I mean it. When they made smile and talk, they actually mean it. So you will see it when I watch the video, guys. You will see it and you will realize, all right, this is real.
I am never giving up. No, I am never giving in. As long as we're together, I'm alright, girl.
One of the recent songs Stay Inside I had almost 300 videos on TikTok. People that do the dance, but one of the biggest problem was a lot of younger people made do the dance, and I couldn't share it. I like Luan Lee Pickney, and a very vulgar song. My fault, you know. But this song, yeah, like I said, we wanted it to be a song whereby anybody could do it. So if I will do the lead dance, I could share it because I don't know nothing bad, all about love and a positive song, you know. So that was the goal, and I feel like we accomplished it.
I'm so thankful, girl.
The video launches across all platforms tonight, and we'll leave you with that tonight as we close on this Friday night. I'm Cherise Halsall, and you can join Indira Craig back here on Monday at 6 on 7. Good night and enjoy the video.
DJ Perry. Pick me up when my best friend. I'm gonna love you forever, forever and ever, yeah, man. Cause we've been through it all. You pick me up when I fall. You're my lover, girl, you're my best friend. Girl, I don't know about you, but I can't go another day without my baby. My best friend, she my lover. Girl, I don't know about you, but I will count my blessings. Girl, please know everything we've been through is just a lesson. Girl, I'm gonna love you forever, forever and ever, amen. Cause we've been through it all. You pick me up when I fall. You're my lover, girl, you're my best friend. And even though you heard a lot of things too, don't forget everything we've been through. I hope you know that I will never hurt you, baby girl. And yeah, I was a little bit toxic, but girl, you know this love is like magic. I hope you know that I just wanna love you, baby. I'm gonna love you forever, forever and ever, yeah, man. Cause we've been through it all. You pick me up when I fall. You're my lover, girl, you're my best friend. Who can take this love away? Know that I am here to stay. I can't go a day without you in my life. I am never giving up. No, I am never giving in. As long as we're together, I'm alright. Girl, I'm gonna love you forever, forever and ever, yeah, man. Cause we've been through it all. You pick me up when I fall. You're my lover, girl, you're my best friend. Just part the life, but I'm so grateful.